Hello. So I've been thinking about what good ways would there be to practice visualization beyond just naming squares and trying to picture a piece go from here to there. That's good for chapters 1 and 2 and 3, but now we need to try and incorporate our mind map that we've built and start putting it to some good practical use. And the thing I was thinking, you know what everyone says, you gotta work on your openings. I'm sure I've said it more than once. Look at the camera shake. You know, I thought I'd try something new and put it on the upper mount as opposed to my lower mount, but I don't know, it looks really wobbly. But anyway, it's more about the podcast. It's more about the delightful audio that I'm bringing, not so much. People don't care to stare intently at my face, so it's all about what I'm saying. So back to the point. Let's say, how are we gonna work on openings without a board? How are you gonna do that while you're driving around? Oh well, never fear. I had a great idea. I haven't heard anybody say this. So it's probably, a point against, because mostly you should listen to people with experience and do what they do, but maybe I just haven't heard the right person say this. Why not pit your openings against themselves, right? They say that you should have an opening for white and an opening for black. And I've been thinking about that, and it's like, okay, now I'm gonna go. I try to start a dummy game with myself. I try to think about like playing through moves and having to play both sides. But it's hard to play both sides. It's hard enough to play one side. But if you do, for example, I'm gonna be busting out either the English, which is C4, or the Perk or Pierce or the King's Indian, basically. Either as black, I'd do King's Indian, or as white, I'd do the English. I used to just do C4 as white, and then C5 as black, and just go from there. And I might go back to that. That's a neat idea, but I've been working on my King's Indian for black. So anyway, I think the best idea to try and have some maximum retention of what you're doing, I think is really important, which is why the basics was such a good thing to work on, because you can just push it till you really know it. If you go about your chess half learning thing after thing, nothing's gonna be quick on the uptake there. You're gonna have trouble recalling it without spending a lot of time. So things that you might be able to focus on more are things that you've already thought a bunch about, and that's both openings. That's working both openings against themselves. So why don't we just see how painful it is to listen to me try and say a practice, a mock battle between my two openings. Let's just try it. C4, C4, going white as C4, King's Indian. Well, if we're going C4, then maybe I'll just go knight F6. They say for the King's Indian, or the Pierce or Perk, if the dude doesn't go E4, then you just bring your knight out right away. I heard that somewhere, because E4 is the only thing that's going to come at your knight. You don't want your knight to be immediately attacked, right? So if white does something like C4 or D4, I think maybe it's okay to bust out that knight on F6. Just get it started. Yeah, big disclaimer. Don't go taking the moves that I'm doing No, I'm not. No one should be like, oh, now I can play a good game against Mark because I know his openings. It's not necessary, and the odds of me doing the same thing twice, highly unlikely, except for the first couple moves. So let's go through them. So c4, knight f6. Well, I don't know. Let's go knight c3, right? I like, as the English goes, if there's no threat of the bishop coming on over and pinning, you know, usually after you go c4 and knight c3, once you have those two things, if black had moved their e pawn, then on the first move they almost always just bring their bishop right over to b4 and just stare down that knight. I don't know why. People love doing that. So, you know, from there, oh, look at us, look at a line. Do you hear how much better I am at getting to talk about coordinates? I drill coordinates. Man, I am working these coordinates to death. Oh, it's tough. Doing knights is tough. You know, I wanted to come on here and say, oh, look at all the knights can do, what knights can do from every spot. I worked only on where a knight can go from e4 all week. I mean, that's to say here and there when I take a second to think about saying stuff out loud. Or, you know, just trying to keep stuff fresh in my mind. I'll do all my diagonal practice. I'll say my A1, C1, E1, G1, all that stuff. I'll say it all really fast, you know, just to warm up. Just keep my coordinates fresh. And the thing I was saying just now was that, oh yeah, from E4, you can go, well, from E4, you can go to F2, or you could go to D2. You could go to C3 or C5 from E2, sorry. Yeah, E2, you can go to C3 or C5, or you can go to D6. And from E4, you can also go to F6 or G5, G3. And, you know, I get too bored, you know, say just for some reason, if there's the wrong kind of struggle, my mind always resists and changes direction. As you can see, I'm all over the place. This is but this is all part of the experience. So I worked on knights, but then it's like, well, okay, I will continue to work on knights, but only partially. I can't devote all my focus to that. Let's make it more interesting, right? Let's up the ante. Let's go. We're gonna work on these two, the opening theory. We're gonna play a mock game in full. Maybe by the end of 4 or 5 episodes, perhaps we'll have gotten somewhere. And we have practiced a game in our mind on the go. Wow, that's cool. Okay, so 1, C4, knight F6. 2, knight C3, G6. Right, because in King's Indian, you're going for the fianchet on that bishop. Get him over there on G7. We'll get there. So recap, just to recap the C4, knight F6, 2, knight C3, G6, 3. Let's go D4. D4. Bishop G7. Oh. Do we nose? what the bishop is looking at? Quiz time. We're doing it blindfold chess style. Can you think of what squares? What is the dark square bishop attacking now that he is on g7? Well, that's a great question. He can go, he's on the a1. Oh, the classic diagonal. A1, h8. Oh, famous. g7, from g7, you could have continued over to h6, but let's say you're looking to utilize the long diagonal. And from g7, you could go f6, e5. Ooh, d4. Oh, hang on. d4. We have a pawn on d4. Ooh, and you stopped there. You don't need to look any further. You could, if the pawn wasn't there, you could have gone to c3 or b2 or a1. Wow, look how fast you can say those things. And there goes the camera. Oh no, we're good. I'm gonna have to fix that wobble. And so, to answer your question, that bishop is eyeballing d4. d4 is getting nervous. That pawn's like, oh man, I'm all by myself out here. But your queen on d1 says, don't worry, my friend. You're safe. I got you. I got you. Don't worry. Don't sweat it. And we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. What are we gonna do? Oh, you know what? We're feeling nervous for that pawn. Let's just break out an e3. 4 e3. d6. Yeah. e3, and then black goes d6. Popping open that spot for our c8 bishop. He can now come out, and you know, if he wanted to, he could go somewhere. Or the knight on b8 could hop over to d7 since the spot's been vacated. Yeah. Whoa. Just to recap, we're keeping it fresh. Visualize with me. c4. Knight f6. 2. Knight c3. g6. 3. d4. Bishop g7. That was the fourth? Yeah. 4. No, that was the third. 4. e3. Protect e4. Double down. And then black goes d6. Oh yeah? Well, let's think. We need to get our pieces. We shut down. The problem with going e3 is that our dark square bishop on c1 can now not go out. He's inside the borders. He's inside your borderlands, and you can call it a bad bishop. Maybe. Oh yeah, right now he's on his starting square. Oh, he's not doing anything. Let's fix it. Let's just fix it. Where's he gonna go? We don't double fee in chat. Nah, it takes too much time. Let's just get him. Where can he go? Well, since we lifted the d4, our only option, I think, is to pop out on d2. That does block our view, our queen's view, right? But since the pawn's protected now by another pawn, a bishop on g7, he wouldn't dare. He's not looking at anything now. That bishop's bad. He's not doing anything. He's looking at a wall of pawns. Yeah. Yeah. It's all about peace activity. This video is already 15 minutes long, and I should be focusing more on the fact that I'm going to my second game, my second tournament game of the year. Maybe I'll stop there, think about what I've done. Consider again what may or may not make good podcast material. I think I may be getting somewhere. You know, the idea is practice. I must remind myself this is the room for improvement. It's okay to be bad. It's okay to start off a bit rough around the edges. Just listen to how easy it is for me to say these coordinates. Man, what a difference from just a couple weeks ago. Wow. Courage, my friends. Persistence. Determination. These are things. These are all things. Think about it. Wish me luck. You know, I'm feeling pretty good. I played some blitz games with a friend of mine, and he was like, "Whoa, you've gotten better." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you. It's nice to see." It was apparent that I was not struggling as much as I would normally against this particular fellow. So that's a sign that I've done something right. It's probably almost entirely just all the tactics puzzles I've been doing. You know, that's the thing I've been trying to do a lot more of this year. Is just work on these tactic puzzles because that's good to do. Yeah, so do that. I don't need to say anything more about that. Everyone says do it. For me, it would just be white noise for me to do it. Believe it or not, I don't want to be repetitive or boring. Yeah. So we'll work on that. We'll work on being interesting. We'll work on word fluency. You know, we're learning a whole language here, so you guys got to give me a chance. Yeah. Wish me luck. It's going to be great. Tactical puzzles. Things are easier to see. So far, strategy is basically just don't mess up. Make sure you don't blunder. If I don't hang any pieces, that's better than last week. It'll be better than last week. You don't need to set your sights too high. Focus on coordinates. Focus on your vision, your inner vision. You may not think it's helping you, but I think it helps. I think it's something your subconscious uses. Because I swear I feel different. I feel different at the board now. But I mean, I've also been doing the puzzles. So is it the puzzles or is it the saying all the squares? It's probably a combination, right? Oh, like I said before in that analogy or whatever that I never shared with anyone. It's like a download bar. Anything you do is going to be adding to your overall chess knowledge and wisdom. Anyway, rambling now. I can hear it. I'm going to have to cut out like 5 minutes of this because I'm not saying anything. Nah, who am I kidding? I'm not going to cut it out. But I'm just going to stop now. Stop now before it gets too bad. Look at this camera. It's cool, but I'm going to have to fix this. It's more distracting, I'd say, this way than in my lower mount, I'll say. Okay, I'm turning it off now. Oh man, I won a game. I won my game. I won it. Yeah, I'm very excited. It was hard. Very hard. Wow. Very hard. And I can be as puffed up as I want, but I needed my opponent to mess up a little bit and make a little slip to take it out of balanced into imbalanced, get that lead. But I kept the lead. That's got to be worth something. I kept it, and I stuck with it, and I didn't mess it up. I'm not messing things up these days. I don't know what's going on. I didn't mess it. Uh-oh, where's my paper? I just dropped it. Shoot. symmetrical English. Can you believe? Symmetrical. It was c4, c5, knight c3, knight c6. I was white, by the way. g3, g6, bishop g2, bishop g7. It's a mirror. Knight f3, knight f6, d3, d6. It's still mirrored. And then it breaks after 6 moves. He does not replicate e4. He does not go e5. Bishop g4. He goes. Can't resist putting eyeballs on that knight. It's delectable. Tasty knight. Just want to stare at it. And then h3. And then sorry, I got distracted. I played h3 to, push it, make him choose. Bishop d7, he backs off. d4. C takes d4. I'm just reading it. Knight takes d4. Rook c8. Bishop e3. a6. Queen d2. I had trouble deciding where to put my queen. Landed on d2. I got all my pieces active, man. I got them all working. I created the scenarios, which helped me to create a scenario. All the pieces were out, so, things were happening. Oh, man. Anyway, he castled. I went c1. He goes queen a5. I wasn't expecting that. a3, protecting that pawn. Knight e5. Knight b3. Oh, yeah. Making that queen run. I thought I almost had the queen, make him retreat at least. He had to go backwards. Anyway, so queen c7. Now he's got his rook and queen lined up. And then I went c5. Wow, I don't know if that's exciting or not. I can't remember. I can't visualize it just yet. Knight c4. Queen e2. Oh yeah, that's when I had to move out of the way. He started his attack. He got his knight in. There was this, oh man, that's the great debate. The great debate right there. That's where we're going to check the engines to see what the correct move order was. Oh yeah, I pushed c5 when I should have maybe started my attack with my knight and, continued to pressure that queen. We'll see. We're going to see. We're going to find out. Anyway, so I did, I did queen e2. He did knight takes e3, and then I take back with the queen. Queen takes e3, and then he goes bishop e6, and I went c takes d6. What's on d6 right now, you're wondering? It looks like maybe a pawn. I don't know. And then he said e takes d6, knight d5, queen d8. And this is where he blundered. He went queen, he went queen d8. I went rook takes c8. I ate his rook with my rook, looking at his queen, and I've never made someone audibly, mutter profanity. He was upset at himself, for putting himself in a situation where he thought he's losing a piece. Anyway, so he went queen d7. Yeah, he just got out of the way. He should have just taken with the bishop, I think. I gotta check that. But he had a light squared bishop, which maybe if he had taken would have been okay. See, the problem was that if he had taken with his queen, if he took my rook with the queen, then I could do a fork with my knight. I could have, forked that queen and the king. Anyway, so he's given up a second rook, basically. But before I take, I was like, oh, maybe I'll thin the herd a bit now that I'm up material. Knight takes f6. Oh, there should be a little plus there because that was a check. And then bishop takes f6. And then rook takes f8 was me. King takes f8. Knight d4. Bishop c4. b3. Queen c7. And he still, this at this point, he's being dangerous. He took a long time for queen c7. I didn't know if he was going to forfeit or not. But then he's like, no, queen c7. He thought of a plan and he went for it. And if I had missed it on one of my bad days, he would have lined up this wonderful attack. I'm sure he was waiting for the chance to get his bishop to eyeball. Yeah, still had his dark square bishop. And he could have done nasty things to my, make me move my queen and then potentially gang up on the king and create this. Anyway, so I was petrified still. At that point, once you're winning, when you're winning, it's the scariest because it's so easy. It's too easy to lose it. So anyway, queen c7. And I say, bishop takes c4. Queen takes c4. Maybe I'm not talking about the right spot. Knight e2. Queen c2. Castles. That's me castling, right? Yeah, I castle. Oh yeah, I managed to castle. Yes, now here's where the danger is. He's still playing. And he goes king g7, protecting that pawn. I go rook c1, push the queen around for fun. Queen b2, rook c7, eyeballing that king. h6, knight f4. Yeah, that was a cool move because if he tried to bring that bishop down at that point, I could have given a check. Because the pawn was pinned by the rook, and then I would have won that piece. But of course, he saw that. He's not messing around. So h6, knight f4, king f8. Wait, rook c1, queen b2, rook c7, h6, knight f4, king f8. Oh, and listen to this. I thought I did a knight sacrifice. Knight takes g6 check. And I thought that was mate right there. Like if he took, then I could go bam, bam, mate. Then I forgot he could bring the bishop back, which he did. But it's okay because I was up so much material at this point. Yeah, he sacrificed his white bishop, white square bishop. Just to get play, I think. That's, oh man. Scary. And then anyway, so knight g6 check, f takes g6, and I go queen takes h6 check. And he goes bishop g7 to block it, which I was talking about just now. Then I go queen takes g6, and then he resigned. And then I could breathe. Holy smokes. The tension, the nerves. When I go to sacrifice a piece and then I realize that I overlooked a thing. Scary, man. Scary. But it worked out. I had the material. My king, although there were potential traps, I kept an eye on it the whole time. Man, I feel different these days. I can see more. I don't know what it is. I don't have to worry so much. Don't get relaxed. Don't relax. But have confidence when you know something. I think they call it like seeing ghosts. When you are worried about something that you shouldn't. Like there's no, that everything's fine. The queen is by himself down there, and I have an escape square for my king, and there shouldn't be anything I should be sweating about as long as I'm putting the pressures to him up there. But I was scared of ghosts today. That was like, what if he did something clever? And there's always something. There's always something. There's always a best move, Oh, man. I can breathe. I'm chill. I'm good. It was fun. It was fun. Good guy. Good game. I don't know what would happen if he didn't drop a rook, but that's how you win games. That's how people win in games against me. And so it shouldn't feel bad that it happened my opponent. I suppose that's sort of the goal, is to create situations of pressure where slip-ups may happen. That's chess for you. Wowzers. Okay, see, this isn't so bad. Now I should drive. Now I'm going to start driving. But, yeah. Good times. Wow. Man. Wow.